Our next speaker is one of the first people, our next speaker is one of the people who I met about maybe a year ago for the first time. No, 2 years ago, when I traveled to his country, and I didn't know who he was at the time. And I thought, well, this man is very interesting, and we have met a lot of people, and when you travel internationally, some of you are here from international locations, you're a little bit blurry because of the time differences. And so I met a lot of people, and I didn't know who he was, and one of the many people I shook hands with. And he was very low-key, down-to-earth, relaxed, no pressure. Everything was going smoothly, and I came to find out he was one of the more powerful people in the corporate world in Vietnam. And he has been a strong advocate for Connexions and a very good friend of our former president, Malcolm Gillis, and a very good friend of our current provost, Gene Levy. Please join me in welcoming Ken Pham.
Can you help me set up? Well, I just have a word of warning to the timekeeper. Young man, you have a handicap. You have a handicap because I cannot see you. So watch out. You have to stand up and scream or something. Well, good morning. I would like to share with you some thoughts and our vision for the OER movement in Vietnam. Given our limited time this morning, I keep my remarks to a few key points, and I'll be more than happy to spend more time with you outside during the breaks. For those of you who have not been to Vietnam, there are just a few key things to remember, probably three. Number one, Vietnam is a country full of young people. More than 60% of its population is under the age of 30, and it is still relatively poor, as Dr. Hương mentioned to you earlier. Second, Vietnam, the Vietnamese people have a real thirst for education, and as you heard from Dr. Hương also, the government of Vietnam has put education as a top priority in the country. Third, for a poor country, Vietnam has remarkable internet penetration and mobile phone usage. ADSL is widely available in the country, inexpensive, and everybody seems to have a cell phone, talking while they are moving around on their motorbike dangerously. And the Vietnam Foundation was established to help the Vietnamese people reach their goals in education, and by doing so, we hope to create longer, lasting, and positive ties between this country and Vietnam. Our leadership team has been the pioneers of the OER movement in the country, and we deeply believe in OER as a solution for educational improvement in Vietnam, and some even call it reform in Vietnam. Today, if you leave this conference with these three key points, then I have succeeded. The OER movement in Vietnam, or VOER, has three legs, 4 layers and 1 base. So remember, 3 legs, 4 layers, and 1 base. First, the 3 legs. When I started as a neophyte in the OER field 5 years ago, I thought connection was a chicken and an egg problem. You understand, we have to have contents to grow the community of users and authors, but you have to have users and authors to have the contents. So once I deployed Connexions in Vietnam, I discovered that we would need more than just a chicken and an egg. You need a rooster as well. These three legs of development, community development, content development, and technology development, are driven mostly by people, and in some important instances by government policy. In the community development leg, you have evangelists, people like myself. We have missionaries, and we have the mafia. We have networks of people in the country that would come together and spread the word. In the content development business leg, we have the professor, the intellectuals, the thinker, the writers, and we have somewhat a dictatorship represented by Dr. Hương here, in a positive way, is that by policy, and this is one important element of the success, by policy, people like Dr. Hương or the rector of a university can encourage and dictate professors to come together and create content. I give you an example. One particular university in Vietnam, a strong member of the movement, the rector decided that I'm going to have a content writing camp and gather 30 professors, lock them up for a week, off-site. You work on the contents together. So suddenly, we have contents. Okay? Ooh, we have knots around here. Oh yeah, people are going to do that in this country. We also have another wonderful example of policy. Another president of a university decided that, you want a promotion, you want a pay raise, I'm going to count how you use OpenCourseware, OER materials, as a part of the grading, the brownie points, and build that into policy. So, and that is one aspect of government policy and regulation that I think that help the development of the second leg in the country. And then technology development, we have a lot of geeks in Vietnam who love software, and we gather them and they work with us, and we also have groupies. We have people who just come along and be the cheerleaders to the software developers and get them to work. I mean, I can tell you stories about people who just hang out, night after night with the software developers to encourage them to work on our problems. So those are the three legs. The four layers of the audience. We see that the interest groups, we dissect the audience based on their particular interest and requirements. Conceptually, you can see that connection we have here is at the global level. Everybody shares the same depository of knowledge. And then we have the regional level in which countries of one particular region, like Southeast Asia, would have shared interest. There's a consortium of nations called the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. They come together, they're trying to reduce trade barrier, they're trying to improve the movement of people through no visa requirement, for example, and they are trying to improve education together. Singapore is trying to recruit high school graduates from Vietnam and other countries to go into Singapore for college. Now, it's for everybody's advantage to share the curriculum in high school, for example. So we're seeing this as a joint interest among the nations. So there is a layer of regional interest here. So we call that the regional level. Third, the national level. VOCW, as Dr. Hương explained, is at the national level. There's an interest for the Vietnamese to create a knowledge base by the Vietnamese, for the Vietnamese, for its own education of the Vietnamese people. And then the bottom level is institutional or enterprise level, and that's what Enterprise Raptor is all about. Is that there are institutions and companies that would like to create their own knowledge base inside the fence to share knowledge among their peers. So those are the 4 layers we see. We believe that the demand for support and will increase dramatically when Connexions makes its Enterprise Raptor available. That, we believe, will overburden Connexions Central with requests for support. So we have proposed a network of regional support centers called Connexions that would support the deployment and customization and training at the regional, national, and institutional levels. That would allow Connexions Central here to focus on bigger picture globally, and the Vietnam Foundation will boldly stepping forward to volunteer to establish the first Connexions Center for Asia based in Vietnam. What would the center do? I give you this a very quick list. You can read through it. I won't spend time on it. But basically, the aim is for the center to become self-sufficient or self-sustaining in the future. The key is to be flexible and respond effectively to the emergent needs of the users, the authors, and institutions that employ Connexions, or in this case, Enterprise Connexions, at an open learning technology. Open learning technology. One base of supporters. To thrive and become self-propelling, we believe that VOER must have a base of supporters. An ecosystem, as Rich said earlier, an ecosystem consists of people and organizations that directly or indirectly benefit from this open learning technology called Connexions. So we are building now such a base of supporter in Vietnam called the Alliance for Vietnam Open Learning Technologies, or VOER for short. Our strategic aim is simple. We want them to become stakeholders and gain a sense of ownership in VOER. So what are we doing? What have we done? Well, we have done a few things besides just thinking and talking. We have put together a team of technical people as the core of Connexions Asia. We have signed agreements with various entities in Vietnam to deploy Enterprise Raptor and train users and authors when it becomes available. And for the pilot phase, we'll host their institutional system for free. We are building VOER, and we're working with Connexions Central to test the deployment of ER. Recap. So what you have to remember? All you have to remember is that the Vietnam Foundation is pushing 341 in Vietnam, and we thank you, and we hope you support us.